I'm Tori, and welcome back to If I Were in the Writer's Room. And today we're going to be talking about The Studio. So, if you don't know, The Studio is a comedy that talks about how it feels to be at the top of a film studio in Hollywood these days, and it's recently won tons of Emmys. So, we're going to talk about what I think could be a feasible episode for season 2 because they're already renewed. So at this time in my episode, Silver Lake is booming at the box office. It's even getting Oscar whispers, and Matt and his group, his squad, I like to say, are very close to convincing the board not to sell the studio to Amazon because, as we know in the season 1 finale, that's what they were concerned about. And with the success of Silver Lake, they're really banking on this to prove to the studio that they can continue to make a amazing slate without tech companies. However, just before Matt fully convinces the board not to vote to merge Continental Studios with Amazon, there's always a problem, and this time it comes in the form of an up and coming writer. So here is Zeke, my new character for the studio. He is a writer that claims he showed Matt Remick a very similar script to Silver Lake about 5 to 10 years ago when him and Matt were in an indie film club together. Zeke initially files a lawsuit and he goes to the public on TikTok, showing the audience that he indeed has written a very similar script to Silver Lake about 5 years ago, showing like a scene and script side by side on TikTok. And yeah, that's when everybody's like, did Continental Studios rip him off? Did Matt use his script 5 years later and think Zeke didn't notice? This is what the audience thinks. So the squad pressures Matt to defuse these copyright accusations quickly, and they try to get Matt to remember where he possibly could have met Zeke or where he was from. So all Matt knows is that he met him at an indie film club or something. But we can use this memory spark in trying to get Matt to remember stuff as a way for the audience to get introduced to the young Matt, the one who was the film auteur, the film artist, the one who instead of using Hollywood elite drugs to get high and feel joy that he got high off the simple fact of movies that had good irony and good tension payoff. And I think this would be a real gauge into Matt's character and to see how far he has come in both good and bad ways. This memory sequence ends with Matt concluding that all he knew about Zeke was he was in the film club and he personally didn't think he was a good writer. So as Matt is leaving the studio, he is confronted by paparazzi and he mistakenly reveals that he thought Zeke wasn't a good writer. In just the pressure of the situation, we all know that Matt can say some weird things when he's very anxious and in a high pressure situation, which as a studio exec is often. So he reveals that he just didn't think Zeke was a good writer, and this reveals that Matt possibly could have read his writing because how else would he know that? Adding more flames to the fire. At this point, the board starts to hound Matt and Sal, reminding them that if this copyright infringement has any legs, that it might be better for them to sell Continental Studios to Amazon. Matt, conflict avoidant as usual, tries to first solve the problem by maybe talking to Zeke's agents. He asks around about who Zeke's agents are and he tries to get a hold of them through Cell, but he can't seem to get a hold of them. So once Pat gets the wind of this scandal, because you know she's the producer on Silver Lake, she is on the brink of a mental breakdown, guys. Matt tries to soothe Pat with futile and open-ended promises, but Pat, with a newfound rebel streak, reveals that if Matt doesn't find a way to save this film, save this movie's reputation, and also save her career, that she has no reason not to expose Griffin in the video that she recorded of him at the season finale episode. So as the fires flame, Sal and Quinn decide to take matters into their own hands and convince Zeke to meet up with them. At this meeting, Sal and Quinn finally convince Zeke to admit to them what it would take for him to drop this copyright infringement suit and quiet the press around Continental Studios. Zeke demands one of the priciest first look deals in 5 years for Continental Studios, and at first Sal and Quinn laugh it off, but when Zeke drops the script on the table in front of them and walks off, and Sal and Quinn read the opening scene, they realize they might have a real problem here. So in this scene, I picture Sal doing the voiceover, reading the script that Zeke had left in front of them while we see the opening scene for Silver Lake, just to see how similar Zeke's script and the film that came out is, and how magnifying of a problem it is for Continental Studios. The episode ends with Sal and Quinn knowing that they must convince Matt to give Zeke this first look deal, and even though it's pricey and might restrict Continental Studios' slate that they already created, this might be the only way to convince the board to not sell to Amazon. And this is it, y'all. Let me know if y'all want more ideas for the studio and any more ideas from the shows y'all watch in general. And let me know if y'all would want like a Substack going deeper into it. And okay, bye.